The original cut of The Exorcist, Bill Blatty and I disagreed about. I cut a number of scenes out, more than 12 minutes worth, from the original version of the film, for two reasons. One, I showed it to a man who was an executive at Warner Brothers then called John Calley. He was sort of head of production. And I showed the work print of the film to him, and he had what I thought were some very good suggestions. A couple of scenes, he said, I don't think you need that. I think that's overstatement. When he first said this to me, I respected John Calley, but I thought, well, who the hell is he? I mean, I've lived with this film now for well over a year. I won an Academy Award. What is he telling me how to change my film? But I went home after this meeting and I started to think about everything that he had said. And I went into the cutting room the next day and I tried all of the changes and cuts that he suggested, and I thought it was a better film. And so I went out with it that way. And for years, Blatty was angry about that, and for a long time he didn't even speak to me. But whenever he did speak to me, he would say, Billy, you've cut the heart and soul out of the movie. And I would say, Bill, you're a sore winner. The movie's out there. It's a success. The success keeps growing. It's the gift that keeps on giving, as far as you're concerned. And you're telling me that I was wrong? And then many years went by, from the year 1974, actually, when the film came out, and the year 2000. And Blatty and I had resumed our very close friendship, and he called me one day, and he said, Bill, would you consider looking at the footage that you cut? I'll look at it with you. We'll look at it on an editing machine at Warner Brothers, where they have it stored. And will you just look at it and see if you could restore it and put it into a new version of the film? And I did this as a favor to Bill because I love Blatty and I respect him, and he gave me the best piece of material I've ever received. And I said, okay, and we went into Warner Brothers. I looked at all these cut scenes. I looked at the shot of the girl walking backwards down the stairs, which we couldn't use at the time because the cable showed, because it was so bright.
When we did that spider sequence originally, it was so tricky. You had to have a pretty well-coordinated person to do that. And of course, putting the person on wires helped, because you couldn't do it without the wires. It didn't make the movie because of the wires. And so in the 2000 release, they were easily able to take those wires out with CGI. And so Billy decided to use it in the re-release.
The scene in which Billy and I argued about on the set was a speech between Max von Sydow and Jason Miller on the staircase between bouts of the ritual.
232, take 7, please.
And the speech was, why this girl? What is the sense of the point of that? And to paraphrase Marin's answer, it was, the girl is not the target. The target is you, me, every person in this household. And the point is to make us despair, to make us feel that humanity is ultimately vile, ugly, bestial, putrescent. So much so that if there were a God, he couldn't possibly love us. And to me, that speech was so important because, on a practical level, it would permit a member of the audience to not hate himself for enjoying some of the more horrific moments. It would explain things like the green vomit spewing, everything, all the horrific stuff.
I think the point is to make us despair.
That was the first scene that I cut out of the movie on my own originally, because I felt that that statement of what it's all about was inherent in the whole film. Bill always felt that it needed to be stated. And I said, Bill, I can't include it because the whole movie is saying that.
To reject the possibility that God could love us.
I really put it back for him because I feel and felt that I owe him a lot. He wrote this thing, he created it, gave it to me. And as I got older, I become somewhat less arrogant, and I felt that he should have the version of the film come out that he wanted.
Cher?
And I even did other things with the film, like I added some subliminal cuts. And I added, at the end of the final scene which I'd cut out, a scene between Kinderman, the detective, and Father O'Malley, where they're talking outside the house after the family has left.
Father Dyer, you go to films?
But we were unable to retrieve properly dialogue from Kinderman's voice, Lee Cobb's voice, when he says, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
I'm reminded of a line of a film, Casablanca. At the end, Bogart says to Claude Rains, Louis, I think this is the beginning of a... You look a little like Bogart. You know.
That hurt a bit, but we've got a good piece of it, and Karras lives on. He lives. The relationship continues.
There was a bunch of stuff that existed in work print that they couldn't find a matching negative. But I wasn't going to stick in a work print which is scratched and splotched, and I was going to try to integrate that into a brand new print of the movie. There was a scene at the Arlington Memorial in Virginia. Ellen takes Linda, her daughter, while they're in Washington, on a tour of various landmarks. She takes them up to the tomb of the unknown soldier and watches the ceremony. And that scene was shot just for the line where little Linda says to her mother, "Mommy, why do people have to die?" And I thought it was wonderful, to see this ceremony celebrating the death of the American soldiers who have died in various battles, and the little girl not understanding death, but concerned about it. And I would have put that moment back in the film, but we could not find the soundtrack. Would the film have done as well at the time with all these scenes in it? We'll never know that. The film did great at the box office every time they release it, in no matter what version. And of course, the DVDs have been very successful, and Blu-ray is the best format that's ever come out, as far as I'm concerned, for viewing a film, and in the comfort of your own home. I've heard little details of sound effects in the Blu-ray that I had never heard, that I didn't even know were in the track. Little details, little tickles or noises or things that we built in, which is now all high-definition digital track, you hear that I don't even remember that we built in. So there are all these versions of it, and I now tend to believe with Blatty that the best version, the most complete version, is the 2000 version, the version you've never seen.